In this video, we will show you how to replace your radiator on this Ford F-150 with a 3.5-liter engine. This will be located along the front of your engine compartment. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we're going to do is make sure we're in a safe area to make our way underneath the vehicle. After that, we're going to be under the hood, right at the coolant overflow tank. We'll confirm that everything's cool to the touch. You never want to open up your cooling system when the system is hot. It can be under pressure. Continuing on, we'll take hold of the coolant reservoir cap here. We're going to turn this counterclockwise and lift it up and away from our face. Just a quick inspection of the cap there. We'll rest this along top. Now let's make our way down underneath the driver's side of the vehicle so we can drain our cooling system. Now as I make my way up along the driver's side front corner just behind the front bumper, along the front of the radiator, on the forward driver's side corner, is where you're going to find the drain for your cooling system. We'll make sure we have a collection receptacle under this area. Now to drain this, I'm going to be using a flathead screwdriver directly inside of this red mounting port here. Before I do so, I like to use a hose on the drain port, allowing the coolant to make its way downward into my coolant receptacle. Press that right on there. Once that's done draining, we'll just go ahead and close that drain. We're going to start removing our air inlet here. Now this is typically easiest if you just go ahead and remove the upper portion of the air filter housing from the lower portion. To do that, there's two locking tabs. We'll pop those, take hold of that. It's always a good idea to go ahead and remove the air filter. Just give that a quick inspection. We'll set that aside. Now if you are looking along the outboard side of the box here, you're going to find a 13mm headed mounting bolt holding this to the body of the vehicle. Let's remove that. Now that we have that bolt out of there, you can see that we can move this around. There is actually two more mounting points, which are small tabs that protrude down into rubber grommets down along the bottom here. We'll lift this up and out. Now up along the top of the reservoir here, we have our coolant overflow hose, which will make its way up to here from the radiator. Just use some pliers, we can squeeze on that clamp, slide it down and out of place. If it feels like it's weak or rotted, you definitely want to replace it. You don't want to have a loose connection. We'll continue on and taking hold of that hose. You should be able to give it a little twist to separate it. If you're using pliers, just be extremely careful not to cause any damage. Quick inspection, make sure it's soft and pliable. We'll tuck that out of the way. Now as for the hose on the opposite side of that coolant reservoir, we're just going to pull it out of place from the air inlet tube. Now along each side of the reservoir, you're going to find that you have a 10mm headed mounting bolt on each side. There's one out here on the open on the passenger side. You have the exact same thing over on the driver's side. Now that we have both of those off of there, we can take this tank and we're going to rest it rearward up against the engine. You can hold it there with a strap if necessary. Let's move along to the back side of the cooling fan. In this area, you're going to find that you have several wiring harnesses making their way across. We have to dislodge them from the cooling fan assembly. Also, along each one of the fans, you're going to find an electrical connector that leads up to the motor. We'll go ahead and dislodge that first, and then we'll continue on to each one of the mounting points as necessary. For those electrical connectors, they do have a locking tab. You want to go ahead and squeeze it in, slide it out of place, a quick inspection for corrosion. Going to continue on with a trim tool here. You can also use pretty much anything as a prying device, flathead screwdriver if necessary. We'll just start popping these out of place. There's one. That one's stuck in there for now. We'll try to get a little bit more slack. Now let's continue along the bottom side of that radiator fan. We're going to start dislodging the rest of the wiring harness, making its way across towards each side. I'll just keep following that over to the far corner. Another mounting point here. That's one side. Now let's make our way over towards the driver's side. An anchor point right down in here. There we go. Now we can move to the bottom corner of that fan assembly. Now we'll find you have a 10mm headed mounting bolt on each side on the top of the fan assembly, holding it to the radiator. Let's remove the pair. With the fan assembly dislodged, have a look down in between the radiator and the fan. Looking at my pry bar tip here, you can see the backside of 4 push clips making their way from the bottom all the way up and through the fan assembly. We're going to have to go ahead and dislodge this. This has a small air deflector down along the bottom which is attached. To dislodge this, I'm going to be using a trim tool from the engine compartment side along the outside of the fan shroud and gently try pulling these down and out of position. There we are. Now I've got one of those broken free. I'm going to repeat the process for the other 3. With all that removed from the bottom of the fan assembly, we can continue on to removing the fan assembly. We're going to have to maneuver this side to side, up and down, at several angles to be able to slide it up and out of position. A quick inspection will set this aside. Moving along to the forward panel here, we're going to remove this by removing several plastic push clips from the area. For each of these push clips, you just want to carefully start sliding the center out to unlock them, and then you can remove the outer portion as well. If it does happen to come apart, typically you can press them back together, but we'll leave them in the unlocked position. Continuing on, there should be several others making their way across. Looks like some of ours are missing. Let's remove that panel. Let's move along the back side of the radiator. On the driver's side, you're going to find your transmission cooler lines that make their way from over at the engine compartment in and past that radiator. We're going to have to dislodge the mounting bracket that you can see right up in this area. Use an 8mm. Now, remaining on the same side of the radiator, let's make our way straight downward to our lower radiator hose. On that lower radiator hose, you're going to find that it has a metal locking clip that will dislodge using a small pick. You should be able to grab onto the ear of that locking clip, and we'll pull it straight up and out of place. There's that clip. We'll just confirm that it is still reusable, not rotted or weak in any way. Continuing on, take hold of that hose and we're going to dislodge it from the radiator. Keep in mind there could be coolant in this area. Have a collection receptacle under here so you can recycle it properly. Now we're making our way over towards the passenger side of the radiator. We're going to start up along the top at our overflow hose. For that hose, we're just going to squeeze on the clamp. We'll pry that out of place, a quick inspection, and set that aside. Now we're moving to the upper radiator hose, located just below that area. For this one, once again, we're just going to go ahead and squeeze on the clamp and we'll slide this out of place. A quick inspection of the hose, confirming it's not dry, rotted, cracked, or damaged in any way, and we'll set that aside. Along each side, upper portion of the radiator, you're going to find a 13mm headed mounting bolt holding the upper portion of the radiator to the body of the vehicle. We'll dislodge each one of the mounting bolts, one on each corner. With the radiator dislodged from the body, we have movement there. We're going to continue on a little bit further forward, close to where the grille and the headlamp assemblies are. On each side of this area, you're going to find that you have an air deflector panel. We have to dislodge that. I'm using a trim tool. We'll go ahead and dislodge our push pins holding this in place. Start up along the grille here. Pop that out of there. There's one that's just behind here. Pull that. Now that we've dislodged one side of the air deflector, let's go ahead and do the same on the other side. Now we're following that air deflector all the way down along the side of the radiator here. You might find that you have several areas that hold this in place to the radiator, and obviously we have to dislodge them. We'll just replace these as necessary. With that dislodged, we're going to continue on to our two transmission cooler lines. We'll start with the lower one. As you remove this, there could be fluid inside of this area, so make sure you have something to collect it and recycle it. For each of these hoses, you have a squeezable clamp. Go ahead and squeeze on the clamp and we'll slide these out of place. Now after squeezing the clamp and sliding it up the hose, we're going to dislodge that hose from the radiator. There we are. A little bit of transmission fluid coming out of there. We'll just give that hose a quick inspection, make sure it's soft and pliable, not torn, worn, or damaged. That feels good. Let's make our way to the upper hose. Just a quick inspection of that one. Feels good as well. We're making our way over towards the other side of the radiator and AC condenser now. Now on this side, you're going to find that you have two 10mm headed mounting bolts that are holding the AC condenser to the radiator. Let's remove the pair. There's one up top and one down below it. Just a quick inspection of that hardware. With those bolts out of the way, we're making our way to the air deflector. There's two push clips holding this in place to the radiator. Just go ahead and separate it. We've got one of them right here. Can be a little bit difficult getting your hand in here to do this. We'll be replacing that one. Now we've got another one located below the AC condenser bracket. It's very difficult to see. There we go. Just get that off of there. We'll be replacing that push pin as well. And there's just one more all the way up at the top, just above the upper AC line. There we are. With the air deflectors dislodged from the radiator, the last thing we have to do is finish dislodging the AC condenser. That'll be done from over on the driver's side of the radiator once again. In this area, you're going to find a locking tab where the AC condenser is pressed down into the hook on the radiator. This is holding it down, so we're just going to depress on that locking tab towards the radiator and carefully lift up on the AC condenser. We're being careful not to cause any damage to that AC condenser because obviously we are reusing this. Let's go ahead and lift it up over on the passenger side as well, pulling it out of its locking hooks on each side of the radiator. Now it's time to take hold of the radiator and we'll carefully start lifting it up and out of position. There could be several things inside the engine compartment that this hangs up on, so you'll just have to work it up and out, being extremely careful not to cause any damage. Get that AC condenser out of the hooks. There it is, friend. Now that we have the radiator out of position, the next thing we want to do is look for the mounting areas. Along each side of the vehicle, you're going to have a metal bracket which is attached to the body of the vehicle. We want to make sure that this area is clean. You may find that the rubber grommet that's supposed to be attached to the radiator, in between the radiator and the body of the vehicle, may still be in place on the body, or it might be on the bottom of that radiator. Either way, we're going to make sure that we remove them, clean them, and inspect them. We'll make sure we clean up each of the mounting areas on each side of the vehicle here. Now let's have a look at the side of the radiator. You can see where the rubber mount is here. We'll just pop this out of place. You can use anything as a small prying device. Quick inspection of that. Let's prepare our brand new radiator for installation. We're starting with those two rubber mounts, one for each side of the radiator. Just go ahead and take those, press them into position. Double check, make sure it's secured. Repeat the process for the next one on the opposite side of the radiator. Now that we've done both of those rubber mounts, we'll continue on to where the drain is. We want to make sure we use our flathead screwdriver. We're going to insert this and turn it clockwise until it's completely bottomed out. Right there is bottomed out. We're only going to go a tiny bit further here. Obviously, we don't want to break any plastic. Now we can get this in the vehicle. Now we're going to start putting this in place inside the engine compartment. We want to make sure that we have those rubber mounts aligned with their corresponding ports on the body of the vehicle. Just have to finagle this in. Now it's time to align the AC condenser with its mounting brackets that are along the side of the radiator. We're going to make sure we align the tabs on the AC condenser with the hooks on the radiator, and we'll slide this down into the locked position. Should want to press right down in there. Once you feel as though you have it down, go ahead and give it a little tug upward, confirming it's properly secured. With the driver's side slid into place, let's continue on over at the passenger side. For this side, we have two 10mm headed mounting bolts to align and start in. After that, just go ahead and snug them up. Should be able to maneuver that AC condenser around as necessary. You might have to slide it from one side or the other. You want to make sure you start in both of your mounting bolts before you tighten either of them. Now with the AC condenser properly mounted, let's continue on to our air deflector. We're still over on the passenger side. There should be 3 push tabs along this area holding it in place as we make our way up the radiator. Start down along the bottom here. I'm replacing my push clips, so mine I actually push in the outer portion first, and then I lock it in with the center on these ones in particular. Bit difficult to get both hands in here. Bring it through the air deflector first. We'll just make our way up to the upper one here. Continuing on with that same air deflector, we're going to press it in along the front grille. There should be another area right along here that presses in as well, but as you can tell, our air deflector is damaged. So we'll just go ahead and align the one that is there, press that into position, and if that one was there, we'd install that as well. Now we've completed this side, let's go over to the other side. Now over on the driver's side, let's go ahead and get that air deflector aligned, and we'll start putting in our push pins. There's 3 of them making their way up the radiator on this side as well. Move around that transmission cooler line as necessary. We want to try to align this with its spot. I'm just feeling around. Can be a little bit difficult to see it and do it at the same time here. Try to find the hole on the radiator again. Now clearly our air deflector is a little torn on this particular application. I'll just keep moving. I need to get this through there. Bring it in and through here. Lock it in. Now the upper one's going to make its way all the way up into this port here. There it is. Okay, get that through there. While remaining on the driver's side of the radiator, it's time to start installing our transmission cooler lines to that forward side of the radiator. Just go ahead and align them, press them into position, and of course use the clamps to hold them on there. We'll start down at the bottom. Go ahead and give that a little tug. That feels good. Now it's time for the upper hose. Press that on there as far as possible, of course, and we'll continue on with that clamp. That feels good. Now we're done reaching through this area, we can reinstall our air deflector along the top. Press that into position. Let's align our radiator and start in each of our 2 mounting bolts. Go ahead and snug them up. On the driver's side, we're going to secure our transmission cooler line to that radiator. We have our 8mm headed mounting bolt. Just go ahead and start that in and snug it up. Now it's time for the lower radiator hose. As you remember, we did dislodge that metal locking clip, so we're just going to install that now. It's going to fit right inside this groove. Go ahead and press it all the way on there as far as possible. Now we'll be aligning this with the radiator. We want to make sure we have the wiring harness in the proper area, which would be above that radiator hose. Line it up, press it in, listen for a click, double check, make sure it's secure. Get a nice click from that. It does not slide off. We're over on the passenger side. Let's go ahead and reattach our upper radiator hose to the radiator now. When installing your hose clamp, you want to confirm you have it in the same position as where you had removed it. Let's get our overflow hose on here. We'll have it so our bend is leading towards the center. All right, now let's install our fan assembly. We'll take this and get it in position. Once we have it rested in there, we're going to continue on with those lower push clips for our lower air deflector. Just have to maneuver this around side to side. It should want to slide down eventually. Now that we have that rested in place, let's continue on with our small clips holding the air deflector to the bottom of the fan. You can lift up and down on the fan as necessary here. Try to push that up and through. There's that one. Let's do the same to all. Now that we have the fan slid down into place, we're going to pay attention at the very bottom. We have those small hooks on the radiator. We want to make sure the fan's sitting in there. After that, we can tilt this up. We're paying attention up along the top of the fan assembly where it connects to that radiator. You'll find that you have 2 hooks, one on each side of the fan assembly. It should go right over this groove. After you have that in place, continue on with your 2 mounting screws up along the top. Start them in, snug them up. It's time for the wiring harnesses. We'll start attaching these along the bottom of the fan assembly there, making its way across. Plug in that fan. Let's get this next one. Let's get this next one. Now let's get our coolant bottle in place here. There's areas that you want to pay attention to. On the bottom of the bottle itself, you do have one alignment tab. That'll go right into this slot on the fan assembly. Go ahead and line that up, press it down into position. After that's in place, line up your two mounting bolt ports and starting your mounting bolts, snug them up. Slide this hose into place. Let's get this hose on here. Slide that on there as far as possible. Attach it with the clamp. Make sure that's secured in place. Now we can get our forward panel in here. Just want to get this aligned so you can see each one of your push pin ports. As for your push pins, you want to make sure you press in the outer portion first, lock it in with the center. Repeat the process for all. As you know, some of ours were missing. Now, as we move towards the driver's side, you do not want to insert your push pin for this port or this port. We'll move along to the next two. Now it's time for the air filter housing. Along the bottom of the air filter housing, you have two small locating tabs. I've applied some silicone paste. Looking down inside the engine compartment, you can see these two rubber grommets. Let's go ahead and align this, press it into position. After pressing it down, just give it a light tug up. It should not pop up and out of place. Let's continue on with our one mounting bolt over on the far side there. Now we'll get the air filter in place. As for the air filter housing, you'll find along the bottom side there's several slots, and as for the upper side, it has 4 locating tabs that will slide into those areas. Just go ahead and press it right in there, slide it back as far as possible. Press down along the front. It's time for each of our 2 locking tabs. Just line them up, press them in. It's time for our push clips. Now it's time to fill the cooling system. We'll make our way over to that cap. Go ahead and remove that, set it aside. Looking along the side of your coolant reservoir, on the passenger side that is, you can see exactly where the coolant level needs to be at by the time it's full. Right up in this area, there's a small line. You can see minimum, and maximum is essentially this larger line right here. We'll go ahead and fill up the cooling system. Now to fill this, we want to make sure that we remove as much air from in the system as possible. Even one air pocket can cause an issue with the cooling system and heat coming out of the vents. To do this, I'm going to be using a vacuum system. It's going to create vacuum in the system and it will draw the coolant in we'll make sure we only fill it up to this area. Now on my particular tool, I have a gauge right here. I'm going to apply pressure to this. You'll see that it creates vacuum. We want to watch this needle make its way all the way through the red, through the yellow, and into the green. Generally, anywhere past that 25 pounds of vacuum pressure is exactly where we want to be. Once we're there, we're going to cap this off, and we'll pause for a minute, confirming that the gauge does not start falling down into the yellow, or worse, into the red. If it falls into the red, you know you have a leak somewhere, and you definitely want to fix that before you continue filling. Now we're going to start drawing our manufacturer specified fluid directly into the cooling system here. We'll make sure that we do not start drawing any air from inside of the container. We'll just swap it out as necessary. Obviously, we don't want to go too high here, so I'm going to start releasing some pressure. We'll let that coolant level make its way down. Now that we have our coolant up to the proper level here, we can continue on to reinstalling our coolant cap. Okay, friend, we've almost finished the installation of our radiator. We've topped off the cooling system. The next thing that we need to do is make our way underneath the vehicle. We want to have the vehicle at normal operating temperature with the vehicle running, and we're going to have to look along the side of the transmission for the fill plug. Now we're underneath the passenger side of the vehicle. On the passenger side of the transmission is where you're going to find the check and fill plug. That's right here. We have the vehicle at normal operating temperature on a flat level surface. You want to go ahead and turn this counterclockwise using a 19mm to remove it. Make sure you have a collection receptacle under this area so you can recycle any fluid that might happen to make its way out properly. Now right in that area, you can see that Ford gave us a dipstick that we can use. You just want to go ahead and wipe this down. Looking at that dipstick, right along where my index finger is, we can see the small hatched area. That's exactly where you want to be when you're at normal operating temperature on a flat level surface. So let's just go ahead and check that level. Install that dipstick down into the transmission as far as possible. We'll lift this up and out, and a quick check. As you can tell, our fluid is a little bit low, but the temperature still has to make its way up. Fluid will expand, so this fluid looks good. If you did have to add, you want to use Mercon LV. Let's go ahead and reinstall our plug here, and we'll use our 19mm to make sure it's nice and tight. Go ahead and clean up your mess. Okay, friend, now we've finished our installation. The last thing you want to do is just go ahead and clean up any mess, double check for leaks, close the hood, take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.